Noble Purpose written by you. Um 30 years ago, you were kidnapped in Colombia. And the way you have described the whole kidnapping scene itself looks a scene straight out of an action movie, straight out of a TV series, where the lords and the gangs and the drug lords are ruling the roost. So, would you like to throw some light on your encounter with death? How it transformed you, how it took you onto this profound journey?
Sure. Yes. Um, well, without wanting to go, and it's not that I don't want, it is maybe not relevant here, but so what you can see, interesting that you took that as a picture, Kush. Um, so this is one of the bullets that was taken out of my body in January 94, which is exactly 30 years ago, when I was kidnapped by the FARC in Bogota, Colombia. And this happened with it was so surprisingly unexpected, obviously, and the violence with which this happened was simply incredible. And I'm actually quite surprised how, first of all, that I still am alive, and that I could make sense of what happened, because I think for the same, I could have just been psychologically totally a wreck or totally dysfunctioning, and I don't think that that is my case. I will let the others around me decide if I am psychologically unstable, but I don't think so. But what has been a learning point for me is that the several weeks and months that I had to recover before I could first be transported back to Brussels, and then could walk again, because I was paralyzed. It has really pushed me to reflect about the reason why people do this, and what would have happened if I was dead, and if I would be ready to die, and what I was going to make out of my life now that I was not dead. And it obviously came totally unexpected, this reflection, and it was incredibly rich, because I connected in some sorts of ways with with the soul and with the depth of life, by simply asking the question, why do I live? And what kind of life do I want to have? Because the shift that happens in oneself when you are confronted with such a dramatic, unforeseen event, and I think the same happens when you have when you lose somebody very close, like you said, Kush, when you lost your fiance, or when you lose a parent, or when you have a severe illness, or you have a cancer, or you have you lose your job, or a business, you go bankrupt. All these major events that we do not plan, they have a huge impact on us. And it is also weird, I'm going philosophical now, but it is also weird that often we wait till something severe happens in our lives before we really take the time to start reflecting about the kind of life and the quality of life we want to have. We tend to go into sort of like a routine, and then we grow up and we are adolescents. Now we go to school and we go to uni, and then we start working, first experience, and then second, and we are ambitious, and at the same time we are 50, 60, and then we kind of like start thinking, but did I live a life that I really wanted to live? And so when you have such an experience as a near-death experience as what I had, it totally shifts perspective.
And there were some very interesting things. I mean, audience, I would request you to definitely, read the book of Noble Purpose. The first few pages itself, the way Oliver has described, are quite profound. I wanted to touch base before we move on to the next section was, the lady who was sent by the universe to save your life. In some ways, I see that lady playing such an understated but still such a powerful role.
Yeah.
And you have described it in the book beautifully. And for the audience, could you just throw like what was your take on the lady? Because
Yeah.
you don't know the name of the lady, you don't remember the face, you just know there was this lady who came and saved your life.
Yes. Yeah, so what happened is that to make obviously a long story short, after the terrorists had stopped our car and took actually control of our car, they took out the driver, threw him over me. I was sitting in the back. There was a British person sitting next to me who was a friend of the house. I was actually visiting friends in Colombia. When I got shot, I immediately fainted, and when I got myself out of the car, which was quite miraculously that I could still keep myself getting out of the car, I dragged myself away from the car, and positioned myself somewhere in the woods. So they had taken us to some forest out of about 30 kilometers out of the city. And so I was laying next to Brian, this British person who became actually my godfather, and we became very close friends. And then the driver, we were laying, the three of us. And then the leader of the gang, I guess, said in Spanish, liquidales, liquidate them. And so the guy was coming to us, and I was closing my eyes and sort of like making myself very small to try to get as little bullets as possible, and that it would be over in literally one shot. And at that moment, I drifted away. I was gone, and I thought actually I was in heaven, because I thought I was dead. And what happened at that moment, which I have not experienced because I was somewhere else, which was, by the way, an incredible experience. It was flowers, it was light, it was sun, it was my mother, like a nymph coming over the field there was like millions of flowers coming over the field of flowers towards me, which my mom is still alive, and it still, makes me very emotional. Is that there was a lady in the forest, and we are after midnight. A lady in the forest apparently shouted, "The police is coming, the police is coming, the police is coming." And the terrorists got afraid. Nobody has seen that lady. And the terrorists actually fled. And that is why just before actually killing us, that lady shouted, and which was it is unexpected, and it is, you cannot even explain it, because it is in the middle of the night. We are in a forest. What is the odds that a lady would be in the forest? So that voice, and I don't not necessarily believe in God, but the voice of something apparently has saved our life, and I'm eternally grateful to that voice, to that lady that I have never seen, that I haven't even heard, but she's definitely saved our
We
lives.
already understood, how that profound experience with death was.
Mhm.
Now, in your book itself, you have defined noble purpose in a very beautiful way. You have defined noble purpose as a present of life, from life to life itself.
Mhm.
What do you mean by that? I mean, I completely go with it. I mean, what you said, but for the audience, that's such a profound statement. But what do you mean by that?
So I have the conviction that each human being has the potential to live a life of purpose. And obviously, this requires that people have certain basic needs that are covered. When you are living in a war zone, when you are living without education, without a shelter, when you have no food or no sufficient quality food, when you have a total dysfunctioning family where there is lots of fights, where there is lots of pain, obviously that is much more difficult, if not impossible. Um, but potentially, if then these people would again know peace and would again know tranquility, I believe that that is also possible for them to reconnect with something that is powerful. And there is many examples of people who have lived very difficult lives, who have made something fabulous out of their lives, even having lived in poverty and even having lived without much material or having lived with much food. But so let's say that for the majority of the population on this globe, I believe that it is possible to connect with something which is given by life. And that is what I consider as our noble purpose. And I think it is something that we have to go and connect with, and not go and look for. Look for is like I'm going outside to go and look for something that I hope I will find. Maybe you have to go outside, and then I would recommend to go into nature to connect with it. But I think we all have something deep in our soul, every human being, even those who have done horrible things. I think there is a reason why people do that. But I believe we all, as human beings, we have some profound source in our in our being that is actually making us unique human beings. And that is why I call it a present from life for life. That is very much what I think is the magic actually of our life. Yeah.
So can I for my understanding and even for audience, can we say that if in terms of being victims of life, both of our experiences, could have pushed us in that direction where we could have chosen to be the victims of life, and kept crying about it, and a lot of people get stuck there.
Mhm.
But in some ways, we turned it around, where we saw this ugliness of life as the biggest gift to us, this pain that was given to us as the gift to us, this pain that transformed us. And that's what leaves me quite spellbounded, that for us it was a transformation experience, but many get stuck there. And an audience, that's what we are going to explore going ahead, that how do we turn this pain into transformation, and also explore that how do we might not wait for the pain, but we can trigger the transformation with conscious actions. So we obviously understood this is the present. It connects with our authentic self. We accept with all the ugliness, the beauty that life throws. Now, to do that, you have also mentioned, to even be able to see all this as a present from life. You talk about these four bodies very beautifully: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual bodies. So quickly, can you throw some light there?
Yes, and before I will go there, Kush, I would like to say something which I think is important for the friends here in the audience. I think if you want to live a life of meaning, of depth, of noble purpose, I think it is important to connect with something that is as precious as life itself. So I would believe that in order to live a life of meaning, we have to open the channels. And I don't want to be too metaphysical here, but we have to open the channels of connecting with our life. If we are sour, if we are gray, if we are dark, if we do not do the exercise of seeing things positively, and that doesn't mean that we have to be naive and not know how to deal with pitfalls or with sometimes difficulties, but it is to always try to give a twist to it, because it is very much the philosophy of the glass half full or half empty. And I will give a very simple example. There is people who have good health and who have all what they need, and they will still complain about their life. And there is people who have very little, who see opportunities of life, and who are very welcoming of every opportunity or every moment of life. And so it has nothing to do with wealth. It has nothing to do with not even with health in a certain way. It has nothing to do with social class. It has nothing to do with the role, the professional role you have in your life. It has really to do with the philosophy that you give to your life. How much do you connect and want to connect with life? And I really truly believe, and literally in my case, I have seen the light by this near-death experience. So I believe that there is always some light. Even if we are in the biggest depth of darkness, I think there is always some light. But we have to want to connect with that spot of light, to connect with that beam of light. And so that led me theoretically then reflecting about what is it that we have. And I think we have four bodies and not one. So we have our physical body, which is the I would say the envelope in which a lot of things happen. And then we have our mental body, which is referred to as the brain. That is the way how we think. That is how we make logic, how we give meaning to things. That is how we can reason. And then we have the spiritual body. And the spiritual body for me is very much what is like I would say the gut. It is very much about connecting with something that is bigger than ourselves. It is a universal energy. It is not necessarily religion. So I don't connect spiritual and religion together. You can be religious and spiritual, and you can be very spiritual and not being religious, which is my case. So the spiritual is really finding the spiritus. It's the wind in how you look at life and the way how you look at all the beauty in nature, the beauty in meeting people, in the beauty in eyes. And I don't want to be naive here as if it is all kind of like woolly and a new age kind. Just do it. Just look at the beauty of nature. Just look at this bouquet of flowers that is standing in somewhere in your home, and just look at the beautiful depth of the people, and you will see what that is going to do. So that is the spiritual side. And then the emotional side is obviously what you know. It is more referred to as the heart. It is our emotions. It's the way how we feel. It's the way how we make sense of all our different emotions. There's a whole set of emotions. I don't want to go there. I think actually, Kush, that maybe we should do a webinar around these 4 bodies. I think that is interesting as well, to sort of like really dedicate a session to the 4 bodies.
Okay, so what we'll do is we already have a next episode planned, but before the end of the session today, we'll ask audience if they would want us to focus on the 4 bodies for the next webinar, right?
Okay, good. Yeah.
So quickly moving on, folks, I hope you understood, the journey till now, how to understand that noble purpose is a present from life to life itself. You need to tap into these 4 bodies. And then hopefully in the near future, we will see a full episode on these 4 bodies as well. Now, the biggest question, Olivier, I mean, even in my spiritual journey, no one spoke about noble purpose. We were always spoken about the purpose. What's your purpose for life? And in some ways, it changed my mentality that purpose can be anything. And then I met you in INSEAD, and then you introduced me to this whole concept of noble purpose. And suddenly it started making sense. In fact, one of the anecdotes that I have is the Marvel character Loki, who is the god of mischief. But in the last season that they came up with, he evolves from the Lord of Mischief to the Lord of Everything. He becomes who supports the universe, and all because his purpose evolves from just purpose to noble purpose. He brings nobility to his purpose. So with that thought, I would want to ask, why noble purpose? And then even let's take a step back. What is noble, and how noble is noble?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I can be very explicit about it. When I started thinking about, after having taken a sabbatical, what I wanted to do is, I really connected with the need to bring some meaning in the things that I do. Maybe even some more meaning than in what I had been doing before. And long story short, I came up with the concept of GINPI wanting to be an advisor, a transformer of high impact leaders and their collectives and their organization. I said, what is it that is really essential for people? And it is the nobility that they give to what they do. So that is very different from having a set of objectives in life. I think we all need objectives. I think we all need to set some targets. And then there can be very simple targets and very simple objectives of wanting to progress. A human being that does not progress will stagnate and will ultimately die, psychologically and or physically. So the need for the meaning that we want to give to our life should be more than a series of objectives, because then it becomes very, very much a pursuit of wanting to realize objectives. So it's like one objective, yeah, exactly. It's very much this. So it's like one objective after another, right? That we are wanting to achieve, and objective and purpose for me, it's kind of like the same. And I wanted to give it an edge, an extra dimension by saying what I think should happen is that people bring nobility to what they do by doing a series of objectives, but objectives as part of the realization of a higher order meaning that they give to their life, which is what I call this noble purpose. And I will give a shocking example. Adolf Hitler, for me, he had a purpose, but you can absolutely not say that that was a noble purpose. He had a purpose, which was to recreate the Third Reich and to create this elitarian concept of a German world. And in that world, there was no place for Jews and gypsies and gays and communists and what have you. So he had them killed. Now, if the purpose is a Third Reich, but the collateral is killing millions of people, the same as in enterprises, where they can set a purpose of being the biggest or being the most known, but the collateral damage is huge, or the internal dynamics of the organization is so painful for all the people working there. That, for me, has nothing to do with what we are talking about, which is this nobility of the purpose. And so the nobility of the purpose, the noble purpose, is very much something that is at service. We get driven by things that we can do for others. And actually, what is even great, that is that you get driven by things you can do for others, and you actually get paid for it. Whether that is making the best ice cream, or offering consulting services, or constructing cars, or being this excellent coach. You can do all these things to become rich or to become wealthy or powerful, but it is very dry, it's very superficial. But if you want to be this best coach, or this best cookie maker, or this best car maker, or this best consultant, or this best banker, so that others get the best cookies or cars or services, and people really feel great about what they buy, purchase, get as service, that is the nobility that we put in our service. Very often in our purpose, sorry. Often also an objective is very much connected in time. So now I have to do this webinar, and then I have a meeting, and then after this meeting I have another meeting, and I have to make a successful presentation this evening. So there is a consequence series of things that we have to do. If we are not conscious of why we do these things, we totally disconnect from our life. And so what I always say to people is, take some time and reflect about how much meaning is it giving to your life, what you're doing. And when you find, or when you reconnect, or when you connect with your noble purpose, it is something that is like there as it has always been, like, you know, your right arm or your left eye or your head. I mean, it is just there, and you're not thinking like, oh, I have a head, or I have an arm, or I have an eye. You have a noble purpose, and it is just becoming part of you. And you will feel like any matter of what I call the matter of the heart, you will feel when it is right, that that is what you have to do. And whatever it will cost, whatever it will need, you will just do it, because it is so strong. Because it is permanent. It is always going to be there. So it is not going to change. It can be adapted, but it is not going to change. And it creates so much passion. It creates so much energy. It creates so much clarity as well. I can really say that I have spent quite some time in my career years ago, being a CEO, where I had lots of meetings, and often my partner would say, like, why are you doing, why all these meetings? And I thought I had to do these meetings because, you know, I was meeting interesting people, and I was maybe getting opportunities to bring our consultants into the organization, or maybe I would have interesting conversations. And sometimes it was very varying from like quite elevated, like, and sometimes also very, I would say, operational or very transactional, right? And I don't have that anymore. I can really tell you I don't have that anymore. I'm so clear of with whom I spend my time and what I do. And by the way, everybody who has a life that is defined by noble purpose says the same. It makes life so much easier. And the same happens with organizations. When an organization sets a clear noble purpose, it just aligns all the energy. We will have a talk about noble purpose in organizations, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on this. But focusing back on the individual, the person, that is really very powerful. When you connect with that, what is really part of you, when you let it express itself, when you let it come out, it creates so much power and so much energy. And that is really the difference with a purpose and a noble purpose. And Kush, to finish this part on the difference between purpose and objective, and on the other hand, noble purpose, is that everybody now is speaking about purpose. And I can tell you there's a lot of purpose washing. Like there has been a lot of CSR washing and diversity and inclusion washing because it becomes a trend. And we are not of trends. At GINPI, we're absolutely not of trends. By the way, I think I can say with a certain, well, maybe you can call it arrogance, is that when I started talking about noble purpose in 2010, many people said, noble purpose, really? I mean, it's about quarterly profits and it's about the budget realization and it is about the bottom line. And I said, well, yeah, it's also about that. But the reason to get there is not the bottom line or the performance or realizing all your objectives per se as such. There is something much deeper that is going to give much more color and much more depth. That is what I call noble purpose. I hope I haven't been too long, Kush.
Just to, I'll add just an anecdote. I was talking to one of our clients, and they are in the mining industry, and they gave a very profound. I know we'll discuss noble purpose at organization level later on, but I just wanted to give this anecdote that being in a mining industry, it is very difficult to get all stakeholders aligned to do something sustainable. But having that noble purpose defined for them made their job very easy to pull out of a project which was 4 years into the making once they realized it was not sustainable. So, because the organization had a noble purpose, everyone could be aligned very easily and create that beautiful impact, not just focusing on profits. So, with that anecdote, folks, we move on to our next thing, which is the concept of third day. Now, Olivia, Mark Twain famously said that there are two important days. One is the day we are born, and the other day when we find out the why. And then you introduce this concept of third day. Can you tell us more?
Yeah. So the third day for me is after having understood why you are here, is that you start working on how you're going to realize your why. So the third day is really putting your why into action. And it's like thinking like, okay, how am I going to do this now? How am I going to realize the things that I believe are essential as part of my noble purpose? Because it's good to know that we are born and it's good to know why we are born. But if it remains with that knowledge, it is not really going to change. So I think action is needed, and doing things with and for and about our noble purpose is needed. And that is what I call the third day. It is bringing it into action. It's as simple as that. It's bringing it into action.
In fact, even in the spiritual stages of evolution that we were taught at Giri School of Yoga, the most important stage is the act of doing, taking action. And that's when what you realize truly becomes your understanding. So, what you said is profound. I mean, if we just know what's our noble purpose, but if we are doing nothing about it, how are we ever going to reach it? How are we ever going to realize it? And how are we ever going to connect truly to our authentic selves? So that needs action, daily practice.
Yes.
So now, third day, I mean, you have made a wonderful concept on top of what Mark Twain famously said. Now, obviously, when it comes to action, then it's called for action. So for all the folks who are here, You have beautifully talked about how to find your noble purpose, and how do we make that conscious choice. Earlier in the webinar itself, we were talking about that you can wait for the tipping point. You can wait for those traumatic life experiences to come and give you that push. But that's the question I also kept wondering, and then your book answered it for me. Was, do I really have to wait for that tipping point? Do I really have to wait for these traumatic experiences? Can I make those conscious choices to actually find my noble purpose?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you have. No, I don't think you have to. No, you have to. And maybe Kush, I don't know what others can see, but maybe if you bring back the faces, that is,
Oh,
or at least my face, that, because I don't know if they can see my face or if they're looking at,
no.
by the slides you have made these really nice. So I think that you don't have to wait. At least that's my recommendation, and really take it as a recommendation from somebody who literally physically escaped death. Um, um, we all know the story of this. I think it's an Australian nurse who wrote a book. I have now forgotten her name, and it's really a great book. But so it's I believe an Australian nurse, and people at the end of their life, like when they are on their deathbed, and she asked them, what is it that you are most proud of, and what is it that you regret most? And many people said is that I haven't taken time for what is essential. Loving the family, taking time with the children, caring for what is important to be cared for, doing things for society, for the community, etc., etc. Nobody said, I regret that I didn't earn more money, that I was more wealthy, that I had more power, that I was nobody. So if we can listen to that, and if we can listen to our own soul, which I think is where our noble purpose sits, then we really can bring a very different dimension to our life. And so I think we have. So first recommendation for me would be conscious of where you are and where you want to go, and do you really want to live a life of meaning? Honestly, I could not imagine that people would say, no, I don't want to have a life of meaning. Maybe people can say, I don't know how to get there, but I mean, everybody wants to live a life of meaning, right? So consciously start thinking about, do I want to live a life of meaning? And secondly is, do it in a proactive way. I will use a boutade. I don't know if that is good English. I will use this little story, is that people spend every year more time in planning their holidays, their annual holidays, than once in a lifetime, quote unquote, of planning their life. And I don't think planning from like an objective perspective, but like taking the time to sit with themselves and reflect, what is it that I want for my life that is the most important thing? Really interesting, isn't it? So we spend more time every year planning our holidays than once in a lifetime taking the time. And why is that? Because people don't really know. We're not trained, we're not educated, we're not brought up to do that, to think about life. And I think that's a big mistake. I think all schools should have time for the students to spend reflecting and discussing with the school friends and the schoolmates about why is it that we are here. The third thing for me is that we have to become aware that defining what you want for your life requires also choice. And so that brings us to the what I call the circle of choice, or the three sphere model, which is, and very simply explaining, it is where we have the choice between three important circles in our life. And they actually interact constantly with each other, which is the nucleus, which is like, you know, our cells with our closest loved ones, which is our partner, our children, if we have children. Once I was doing a keynote, and there were monks and nuns in the audience, and one of the nuns said, she said, "But we don't have like a partner, and we don't have children." And I said to her, I said, "Well, maybe it is the relation you have with what you consider as your God, or maybe there is many people that you consider as your children, and maybe there is these 2, 3 very close friends or very close colleagues, nuns, with whom you have this special bond, that they are almost family, and there is a very intimate connection with the two." And so that was really interesting that that person said that. So it's the people with whom we are very close. That is our nucleus, and the nucleus is connected with what I call the energy of love. All of us human beings, we want to give love, and we need to receive love. So it's a very important sphere. The other sphere is the social sphere. And the social sphere is all the interactions we have with other people. And I would say beyond or apart from the professional. That is the third sphere, and we will get there in a minute. So the social sphere really is about all the interactions we have with friends, with family, with parents, with brothers, sisters. It's our social activities. And that is appealing or connecting with our second important energy that we as human beings need, which is the need for interaction. And I could elaborate on this very long, but I will not do it, seeing the time. There is this interesting book by Jung, Synchronicity, and it is about the idea that we all become better human beings through or by the interaction we have with others. So when we are in interaction with others, or thanks of being in interaction with other people, we learn by the reaction of others about ourselves. So if I'm saying to you something, imagine that we would have a one-to-one interaction, and I would see you like being very emotional or very distant or very passionate. Then I start interacting with myself, and I say, "Oh, apparently I'm touching a chord, or I'm apparently not really interesting him or her," and this happens constantly. The theory goes even further and says that it is by meeting other people that we become in the capacity or the capability of connecting with our karma, with the things that we have to work on. And if we keep meeting the same kind of people, or we encounter the same kind of contexts or the same kind of situations repeatedly, it is not more of the other person. It is not a problem of the situation or the context, but it becomes a problem of ourselves, because Jung, and I will close with this, the social part, says that it is thanks to the interaction with others that we become better human beings, because we can learn about our pitfalls, we can learn about the areas of attention, the dark zones, the karma. And then the professional sphere is the sphere about the work we do, what we want to achieve as human beings. And that appeals to our energy and our need of creation. So love, interaction, and creation. Now, if I have to make a choice, for example, I have the opportunity to advise a new amazing client, but we had planned a long weekend, and that mission is actually going to run over the weekend, or is starting in the middle of our long weekend. I'll have to decide with my partner if I will still keep the weekend or if I will go for that new mission. And so I have to make a choice. A different example is my father gets severely ill, for example, and I am thriving professionally. Am I going to spend sufficient time, or maybe more time than before, with my father, despite the fact that I have all these professional, ambitious things to do? So I'm having actually two spheres, the nucleus and the professional, or the nucleus and the social, or the social and the professional, interacting with each other and conflicting. How am I going to make a choice? And that is actually what is important when we are working on our noble purpose and trying to get more depth in ourselves. Is a certain moment we will have to make choices. You will have to make choices. And you will have to connect with what is really essential. And the way how to do it is by living a life where you are connected with your values and that you know your values, that with your beliefs, that you know what are your positive and your propulsing beliefs, but also what are your detracting beliefs, what are the beliefs that make you small. What is your model of the world? Which is, how do you look at the world? How do you look at things around you? How do you make sense of things? What do you think is right? What is wrong? What do you think is acceptable, non-acceptable? It has very much to do with ethics. And finally, it's your life principles. I will not cheat. I want to be somebody honorable, being available for others. These are life principles. I don't give a damn about others. That could be a life principle. I wouldn't want to go with that one, but that can be a life principle. So who we are will very much define what is in the core of who we are and how we are going to arbitrate between the choices we have to make. That is what I call this three spheres model, which is very important in the process of developing our noble purpose.
True, true. So,
And then there's a last thing, which is our comfort zone. So we will have to be courageous to step out of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is where we're comfortable. We all have a comfort zone. That is where we do things, I would say, automatically. It comes really very easy. We have this security, we have the confidence and what have you. But if you want to learn, and that is a theory that I haven't invented, that's really about adult learning. The adult learning theory says that if you want to become more capable and you have more capacity with your potential, you have to break down what I call the circle of fear. And that circle of fear is really sitting around your comfort zone and is pushing back, right? So it is really pushing back because we as human beings, we are afraid of the unknown. So we have to train ourselves to learn to step out of our comfort zone and break that circle of fear by consciously saying, why is it that if I'm going to decide that, why is it that I'm going to go there? Why is it that I'm afraid of going there? Why is it that I find it difficult to speak up? Why is it that I find it difficult to protect my values? What am I afraid of missing? An opportunity, a promotion, irritating my boss, irritating my partner, not standing up for the expectation of my children, what have you. And so we have to become very conscious of the dynamic of fear, and you can do that by connecting with your body. Your body tells you when we are interacting with others. Again, we feel when we are uncomfortable about things. And when you feel, but you can only have that when you are conscious. When you feel that discomfort, then it means that there is an opportunity to learn. Instead of kind of like going all the time and like, okay, well, I feel discomfortable, so I'll just go back to my comfort zone. Because all what you see here, excellent how you present this, Kush, what you see here is all what creates this opportunity of stepping out of your comfort zone. And so in the developing this agility of going into your noble purpose, living a life of noble purpose, there is a moment where you have to ask yourself, where is it that I need to step out of my comfort zone? What does it take? So what kind of choices am I going to make? And am I willing to make the choices, which is kind of like, am I willing to pay the price, whatever the price might be, to step out of my comfort zone and to go for a life of noble purpose?
that is something quite beautiful, Olivia. I mean, we all have this very complicated relationship with fear. And I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, to summarize it, is that to really grow, to really evolve, we have to evolve our relationship with fear. We have to make friends with fear. We have to move beyond the conscious feeling that fear gives and understand that in the unconscious is the churn. It's just like playing, right? When you're playing, your new muscles are developing. Consciously, you feel the pain, but
Yes.
unconsciously, your muscles are growing.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. Yes. So fear has to become a companion. Fear is not something that we look for. We're not looking for fear, but fear, exactly. Make friends with fear. So I call it, we have to make fear a companion.
yes.
Yeah.
So there it is, folks, our lovely audience. Fear is extending its friendship hand to all of you. I hope all of you will shake the hand back or even give a big bear hug to fear. Moving on, Olivia, as in the interest of time, joy through noble purpose is such a powerful thing. It's one of our very strong offerings as well. You have done some wonderful work with some high impact leaders. And one thing that has stood out for me personally while speaking to all these leaders, all these clients, has been the authentic joy they have felt when they have, kind of gotten in touch with their noble purpose. It's something that has been a constant feedback coming from everyone. So quickly, if you can talk about that, because I think it's a beautiful thing. And maybe we can do another webinar episode around this. But quickly, if you can through this, what
Yeah.
joy do we experience through noble purpose?
Yes. Yeah, yes. So I will do it very briefly, like in 1 minute, Kush, so that we can have some questions and interact with people who feel like they want to interact. So it's very much about again, the power of noble purpose is something quite unique. And I can remember stories of teams that really didn't know how to work together, and then we were asked by the organization to work with them. I can remember several stories of people, individuals who asked us to help them define their noble purpose, and many of them have said it's like what did you do? It's like magic, you brought in magic. And then I always said, we didn't do magic. You did the magic yourselves. It is by connecting something or connecting with something that is in you. And it's very fact-based. So we're not talking here about a new religion, or we're not talking about something very fluffy or something. I'm talking really hard facts. It is about the quality, the improvement of quality of your life. It's improving the performance of an organization. It is contributing to the bond that or the improved bond that exists between people working together. It's two partners, a family, where they all live for true noble purpose. It just makes all the difference, all the magic, and that creates so much joy. And I'm not saying, and I'm the first one to say, of course there is days where it's complicated, and of course there is moments where I'm also disappointed and frustrated and tired and sometimes angry, but it's not my life. It is just a moment, and then I switch back energetically. I switch back to the holistic, to the bigger thing that is so much more rewarding, and that allows me also to neutralize these moments of frustration or pain or sadness or tiredness or what have you. And that is the power, the joy comes there.
Wow. That's true. I mean, something I personally experienced as well. And whether it's Stellantis, whether it's Teka, whether it's Bosch, all of their leaders have come back with this feedback, that the pure joy that they have felt. So thank you for that, Olivier. Now, folks, we're slightly running late, but let's quickly jump into the Q&A section. I have allowed all of you to switch on your video and also unmute yourself. So the stage is open. Q&A, as you can see, Olivier is here. So folks, please feel free to ask any questions. You can raise your hand, you can unmute yourself. Please go ahead. Do we have anyone asking questions? Or is Olivier's explanation was too self-explanatory?
Or maybe not.
Folks, once again, I've allowed everyone to, unmute and even open your video. So please feel free to do so. We have the chat. Thank you for we have another meeting. Okay, so Claire has left. Oh, yeah.
Hello.
We have
Hi.
Anna.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I really like the topic. Something I experience is that to be able to connect also to the noble purpose, you need to be connected to yourself, to your own body. So the story of the body is really key. And I know we don't have time, but I like just to hear one or two things from you, Olivier, explaining more about the body and helping us to find our way in connecting to the noble purpose.
Yeah. So I'm having this idea coming up. So thanks, Anna, for your question. I'm having this idea coming up is you don't have to be athletic and fit to have a noble purpose, but you do have to care for your body to be able to connect with your noble purpose, in the sense that your noble purpose is something that is of a deeper order. It is like of a spiritual order. And in order to nourish it, is you have to be very connected with how you feel, what is happening in your stomach, what is happening in your heart, what is happening in your pulse. And if you feel that you are propulsed when you do something that goes in the direction of your noble purpose, is you feel it in your body when you are doing things that really drain your energy, when you have difficulties to sleep, when you feel stress. Your body is telling you that you are doing things that are maybe not what you're supposed to do, right? So when we learn to listen to our body by being connected to our body, and we can be connected to our body by simply being in stillness, by being in meditation, by doing yoga, by doing sports, by practicing any kind of therapeutical approach to the physical. There is many opportunities. We learn to connect with our body, and the body then becomes an antenna for what is happening in our life. And when we feel stable, and we don't have all the time this input of like something is not working, that is why I have a headache, or that's why I have back pain, or that is why I have stomach pain or stomach aches, when we kind of like walk over it, our body will keep repeating it until something really dramatic happens. And then it's really have like either a cancer, or we have like a severe illness, or we get totally drained, we go into burnout because we have not been listening to our body.
Thank you, Olivia. And I
you
hope that answered your question.
Yes, really interesting. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Carol?
hi, it's Nikki.
Yeah, Nikki, yes, please.
Hi.
Okay.
I have a question around, you touched on it about, sometimes people have their noble purpose when something dramatic happens in their life, a loss or a situation like yours or other things. How do you get people to notice about noble purpose when something is stable? In life, you're not looking for anything to finding. How do you get people noticing the first time about noble purpose?
The connection was a bit broken, so I'm wondering, are you asking about how can we add a noble purpose to our life if things are going well, or
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I would say that maybe because things are going well, maybe then we are close to a noble purpose. Or the question is, what does it mean for things are going well? I have encountered members of my family where they think that things are going well. And the way how they interpret it is things are going well from, for example, a material perspective, or things are going well from a financial perspective. But I don't think necessarily that, or from a business perspective. I meet many leaders where they say, "Oh, we're fabulous. Things are going so well." And then I ask them, "But how well is well, and what is going well, right?" So let's put it on the spectrum of well. The same with an organization, as it is with a human being, or with a human being as it is with an organization. We have been working for some very successful enterprises, and the leader, the CEO, was sufficiently smart to say we have to bring in something deeper than the success of our products and our services. And so we brought in noble purpose, or we brought in a different culture and noble purpose, because that was the way for them to prepare for any adverse that could come. So it makes us more robust. The same as with human beings. If we build a noble purpose in our life, it just makes us as human beings more robust. It makes us more stable. And that is for everybody to decide if you feel that is really what you want. Does that answer you?
Yes, thank you, Olivier. It does. It's nice to know that to open up and people think that something's going well, and perhaps because everything's steady and stable, but is it really going well? So it's a profound question for me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure, welcome. Kush, maybe, I would love to have many questions answered, but unfortunately, because of time, let's maybe take one question.
One last question from Carol and Maria. Let's take two last questions.
Okay.
Hello.
We cannot leave Maria. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Olivier and Kush, for this really inspiring session. And
Sure.
in particular, Olivier, for the reflection on what is purpose and what is noble purpose. And while I was listening to you, I looked up in the Cambridge Dictionary, and there are 3 features to nobility,
Okay.
which is courage, honesty, and kindness. And I feel that this is what we've experienced here today. And even if maybe we still need some time for the bigger purpose, bigger noble purpose to materialize, there are so many opportunities in everyday life to act with courage, kindness, and honesty. So thank you really very much for this inspiration.
And thank you, Maria, that you went to look for that, because that is very much what I experience when you live a true life of noble purpose. That is exactly what becomes very important. These characteristics, they become very important because per definition you are outward looking. So it takes some courage, and it takes honesty, and it requires honesty. And honesty is also about being honest with yourself, what kind of life you want to have, right? Thank you.
One last question from Carol. He has been waiting patiently. So thank you so much, Carol. Here you are.
Thank you very much, Kush and Olivier, for this very interesting talk. Just a question. So your noble purpose, you can find basically in your profession. You can also find this out of your profession. How really to find this balance?
Yeah. So I do believe really that noble purpose is not so much about in your private life or in your professional life. Noble purpose is the wholeness. It's the completeness. It's really who you are, fully embedded in everything what you do. And if you look back to this model of the 3 spheres, it's really about these three parts of your life. It's the part of you as a human being with your close ones, it's your social activities or interactions, and it is your professional interactions. And you should be as driven and as energized by your noble purpose in these 3 spheres as in the complete human being that you are. So when you said differently, when you have a strong connection with your noble purpose as a human being, the way how you interact with your close ones, the way how you interact professionally, the way how you interact and what you do socially is all very coherent.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a guide in a certain way. It makes it easier, and it becomes a guide, and it becomes easier because it is a guide. Right? So it is the 3 things really coming together, and it is beyond. It is choices you have to make. It is the kind of friends you want to have. It is the kind of next to professional activities you want to develop. It's the kind of probably even the kind of holidays you want to spend. Maybe that is shifting when you really connect with that, with your noble purpose. So it has quite some impact, but it is in the holistic of you as human being. So I can add a layer. You cannot have 3 noble purposes, and like one for your private life, and one for your social life, and one for your professional life. You have like one noble purpose that is enriching, that is driving the 3 spheres in which you are interacting all the day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. I hope it answered your question. And Carol and everyone else, if you have any follow-up questions later on, because this is a heavy topic, please feel free to reach out to us. Olivia will definitely drop a note personally answering those questions. Cohen, we have got your question. We'll get back to you on the mail for that. And others, just a quick thank you for joining today. And before we just leave, a quick reminder for our next episode, which is happening on 22nd of February, which is about the collective noble purpose. So today we explored the power of noble purpose at a personal level, at an individual level. Now imagine the magic. If everyone in your team is aligned to their noble purpose and the whole team is aligned to a bigger noble purpose, what magic, what beautiful beauty that will create. So stay tuned. We will send you the updates. You're already part of the GINPI tribe. So please do make time. Please do book your calendars. We'll send you a calendar invite as well. And once again, Olivia, thank you so much. I think this was really powerful. I'm taking away a lot of notes. I'm taking away a lot of things inside my heart. I hope for everyone else, it was equally powerful too. And once again, folks, it's because of you we are here. So I fold my hands and bow to all of you for making this 1 hour and being with us here, going through this whole journey, waiting to hear us patiently. And feel free to connect with us whenever you want. Take care. Have a good evening, good afternoon, good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kush. Bye, everybody.